user interest groups. Music, I mentioned 6.1 million bands. I looked up the stats last night. It's actually 7.1 million bands. 50 million people using it to publish their blogs. Put it to who are the MySpace generation. I'm sure it's being addressed throughout this day, and most of you know what we're facing as far as an audience, a generation that's grown up with choice, customization of everything. They obviously now are expressing themselves creatively if given the tools, whether you look at a YouTube, Flickr, MySpace, there's creation and creativity going on everywhere. And most importantly, this generation is growing up sharing their life online in a way that isn't always understandable to other generations. They see no difference between their online life and their offline life, and I think that that is the biggest barrier to get over when going onto a social network. A little bit about the user profile. You can almost think of it as someone's room or apartment. People use MySpace to customize their experience. So this guy, Jay, for example, loves cars, and he's put this car as a wallpaper behind his MySpace page. And he's inadvertently advertising for Cadillac, even though Cadillac has no idea who he is. So what we see in these MySpace profiles, they're not only an expression of who you are, but they're an expression of what you like, because that ultimately is what comes together to create an identity. This is my MySpace profile, at least a former iteration of it. And I wanted to show it to you because, again, it's not only an expression of who you are and what you like, but it's also a very personalized billboard and a media consumption experience. So if you see in my top friends on MySpace is Red, which is a program that I'm sure many of you have heard of that's launched in the UK and US this year. I'm a friend of Borat's because I think he's really funny. And James, who's our marketing director in the UK, and all these things that I choose to put on my MySpace page, I ultimately am becoming a personal validator for all of those things. To create a bigger picture for you in the world of user-generated content, why it is a portal built around user-generated content, I just wanted to put up a couple more numbers. But essentially, there's over 145 million profiles. There's 7.1 million of those of music artists, music, tour information, artistry, biographies, anything you could possibly want to discover about a musician. Over 85,000 independent filmmakers have MySpace profiles. These are students, short filmmakers, budding directors, more established players who are very tech savvy, are all manifesting themselves for this community. Newer to the environment are 30,000 comedy profiles. We're obviously seeing a lot of great content coming from that. And an average of 40,000 videos being uploaded every day. So I just wanted to point out the size and robustness of this, that in the United States, MySpace has more traffic than any community website, traditional portal, video, or music category website. It's actually the largest traffic website in the United States. It's bigger than Yahoo. So in 3 years, given the tools, these individuals have basically created an infinite world of content and marketing. So taking this back a little bit, what does this mean for this room, and how does that change marketing and distribution? I think most importantly, it's just about sort of the left-hand column, the left side, the pictures, because the right side is just the jargon. But you essentially have changed a medium from a broadcast medium. You've got a piece of content, you're distributing it on a radio, you're distributing it on a billboard, you're putting it on TV. It's a passive connection with your audience, and it's something that you've been able to control for a very long time. And the picture below is sort of what MySpace looks like. It's a networked environment, and how that changes the way in which you think about not only distributing content, but also marketing your content, I think has a lot of implications. Some points to just touch on really quickly. Everybody wants to build buzz and word of mouth, so imagine that happening with technology behind it about 1 million times faster than speaking next to the water cooler after somebody's seen a great early screening of a movie, for example. The content and recommendation structures between people are so much faster. I think most importantly, and what I find really interesting, is that it's really like you just see the audience interacting with things that they like, whether it's brands or movies. You kind of realize that every piece of content created does have brand champions and real fans, and it's kind of amazing that you can, for the first time, really see those fans that are attached to that audience. And I think it's really compelling, not only for the content creators to be in connection with their audience and really see who they are and maybe even evolve their content based on that audience, but also from the idea that each one of those members of your community ultimately becomes a tipping point marketer for you if you want. And I think something that's also really interesting about networked environments is that it's really the marketing plan and the content ultimately converge, because what you're doing is you're building a community around content that you hope is attracting people. So if your content is good and you put it on there the right way, that's ultimately the greatest marketing you can do for it. You can leave it to your users to spread the word. It's actually quite economical. So that's just a really, really brief. I mean, the last slide I've done entire presentations on, but obviously I don't want to bore you with that. I wanted to show you just quickly. How much time do we have? Okay. Really quickly, some of the examples of how that's manifesting in film. This is our independent film channel. It's localized in the UK and in the US and soon to be in Germany and France. But it's one big community. It's just a matter of what's localized in the content. One thing that we truly believe in at MySpace is we're champions of artists. That goes for independent filmmakers just as much as independent artists. So we have an independent filmmaker channel that's based solely on talent, content, and what we think is interesting. It has nothing to do with commercialization of the content. We basically, hopefully, are providing a platform to really help get the word out about festivals, short filmmaking, animation, all sort of niche types of filmmaking. And if you scroll down and look at a channel, it's really about a real robust community for a community that often gets overlooked by, major traditional media channels. And we've seen a lot of success with this. Obviously in the UK we have a partnership with Time Out. We work with Shooting People. We promote movies every week. We even promote people's screenings when they email us. We'll promote them through MySpace free of charge because we just believe in the platform. To drill down a little bit into that really quickly is became a studio independent, but I really love the Thank You for Smoking profile because I think it embodies how MySpace works. They built this profile way back when Thank You for Smoking was just a festival film at Sundance, and Jason Reitman, who's the director, also was an avid user of MySpace, and they've since evolved it and put marketing dollars after being distributed by Paramount Fox Searchlight, into the community to help build it and then release the DVD and create lots of tools for users to continue to engage with Thank You for Smoking long after the movie has been in the theaters. So they have a new campaign on it called Spin Tools, and if any of you have seen the movie, it makes sense, and they're creating ways that people can continue to interact with Thank You for Smoking even though it's not in the theaters anymore. And a little bit smaller, Video Kings, which is a movie here at the Berlin Film Festival. If you just see their quote, they're actually giving away tickets to their screening to their MySpace community. So even on a much more grassroots level, you're seeing people really working at building their own communities and then engaging those communities to provide buzz and promotion for their work. I think I'll skip X-Men because I'll show you my movie mashup because it's interesting. So my movie mashup is no, I'm not going to show you my movie mashup. I'll show you X-Men. So on the studio level, X-Men is a completely different approach. We work pretty closely with every major studio to market their movies. We find that movies are just as valuable to the community, to the value of the user experience as the users are to those movies. So I think it's a pretty symbiotic relationship, and we've had a major success helping to launch movies. X-Men was the largest campaign we ever did on MySpace. It has over 2 million friends in it. They've now gone back and they're marketing the DVD. As you can see, there's tons of ways that you can take X-Men and put it onto your profile or put it into different aspects of your life, whether it's through buddy icons or putting content on your mobile phone. MySpace is just a community that's facilitating all of that viral distribution. So on a much, much bigger scale, some interesting numbers about X-Men. There was 10% awareness in young females for X-Men just from their MySpace community. And X-Men had the largest opening ever for a Memorial Day movie, and Brett Ratner went on record and said it was literally because of his MySpace campaign. So from the very niche to the sort of major studio, we're seeing a lot of really interesting synergies for communities and film. So that's kind of a brief overview of what I want to show you, and then I'll answer questions after Stefan goes.
We will go on with the next presentation and then have a round of discussion and question and answer